Hello, welcome to today's edition of The Educational Truth. My name is Dr. J.R. Rucker, and today it is Sunday, February 9th. So, I want to talk about in this episode of The Educational Truth, should parents trust schools? But before I dig into that, I want to reflect back to a time way back in the 1980s when I was a young man or a child trying to figure out what career I wanted to go into. I remember that of the careers I wanted to go into, I remember the dad on the Brady Bunch had a really cool office, and he was an architect. That was intriguing. And then on the Cosby Show, Bill Cosby was a doctor, medical doctor. So that was something that was on the palette for 8 year old or a 7 year old. And then the other two were being an attorney or being a politician. And as I got older, I learned that the two professions of being an attorney, while very well esteemed and respected, and the same for being a politician, I also learned that there was kind of a counter thought about attorneys not being trustworthy, only about the money, politicians talking out of two sides of their mouth. And I kind of let those negative whispers about those professions kind of push me away, although I do have two attorneys in my family. I'm bringing this up because I really believe that education has, or maybe has been more than I can recognize. I believe the field of education now has an uphill sled. I believe that we're at a time where there are a lot of great things happening in education, but there are some things in education that we can do better. As someone who's been in education for 25 years, the question came to my mind: should parents trust schools? Well, that's a loaded question. So the answer to that is yes and no. You see, at this current time in 2025, I firmly believe that today's educator, administrator, school district superintendent are pulled in more directions than any other time in history. There's more expectations of schools and the people that work there than any other time in history. There's more tension, and there's also this thing called social media. This social media phenomenon, not only are educators competing for their students' time and attention, but social media does a lot as far as how communities interact with one another, how students interact with one another. For example, in 1982, if two students had a problem with each other and they looked at each other and said, "Hey, I'll see you after school, or I'll see you tomorrow," or they would have to go home, sleep, and come back to school and still ready to fight. In 2025, if students are having a tension where they may fight after school, by the time you get to school the next day, the subtweeting and everything else, the DMs, the mentions, the stories, everything has exploded overnight to the point where you get back to school and the two students are beyond ready to do something to each other. And it's impacted your entire community. I really believe that if you are an educator, K through 12 at any level, counselor, I really believe that this person that is working in schools is really giving all they have. I really believe that the expectations, as I mentioned before, the climate, the needs, the different rules that you have to be up on, not just basic rules, but every year there's a new law that you have to be mindful of to not violate rights of students and parents and families. It's a lot. And so, in that vein, I really believe that parents can trust schools. Now, on the other hand, I believe that there are still things that parents have to be vigilant about. I believe that you have to know your child and you have to understand that um, every situation may not be right for your child. So you could send your child to a school and School looks great, but there's no classroom management. There's too many fights. There's too much smoking. There's uh, maybe the just the overall academic expectation of the school is not there. There could be a lot of different things that are impacting your individual child that may not be impacting your sister's kid who attends the school. So you have to make sure as a parent that you're vigilant. You also have to understand that there are other factors that impact students. For instance, you have to understand that you need to understand if your child is going through anything that is out of their hands. They may come from a certain ethnic background and be impacted by a situation. So, as parents, you have to remain vigilant. Another thing is important to remember is that working with someone else's child is like working with the most precious jewel metal in the world. So even if this child may have been in trouble, suspended since the third grade every single school year, it doesn't matter. Parents still want their children to be treated with respect and love and care. So the question of should parents trust schools? I would say yes, but I also have to say no. Your child needs to be in the right situation, and only you and your child are going to be able to figure that out. And what I mean by schools, I don't mean in general. I just mean that not every school is going to be the right situation, or every district is going to be the right situation for your child. You could have a district that's running great and a great child, but it just doesn't mesh. I think we're no longer in a place where we have to say one size fits all. So your child may do better with online learning, or your child may do better with a hybrid situation, or your child may be an outstanding athlete and kind of need to be in more of an athletic situation academically. I just want the conversation to stay about what it should be about. As we're dealing with political climates that are causing a lot of anxiety and concern as far as schools, I want parents to know that yes, you really can trust schools. Schools are doing more than ever, but you must stay involved. You have to do what's right for your child and understand that these are different times and they take different measures of interaction. In 1993, when I was in high school, the only thing I remember my mother asking me was, "Do I have gas money? Did I eat dinner?" That was about it. There wasn't a lot of concern about what was going on at the school because there's a lot of trust. And right now, anytime you have more communication, which we have, teachers have a vast amount of ways that parents and administrators and the higher ups can reach out to them. It can be overwhelming. And so understand that today's school is not the school of 30 years ago. And it's not that schools are getting worse, it's just that we're hearing sometimes about more negativity, unfortunately, than the positivity. So as we celebrate National Counselors Week, as we celebrate Black History Month, I challenge parents and educators to share positive stories that they're having in schools. Not to ignore the things that need to be worked on, not to ignore situations that have to be addressed and maybe they have to be shared. But I ask you in your groups, on your social media, to start sharing positive stories of where teachers, superintendents, administrators, where your children had positive experiences in the schools, where good things are happening. Because ultimately, parents can trust schools, but they just need to be involved. My name is Dr. J.R. Rucker. I'll talk to you next time.